Why don't eggs tell jokes? They'd crack each other up. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? He was outstanding in his field. What do you call fake spaghetti? An impasta. Why can't you give Elsa a balloon? Because she'll let it go. Why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts. Why was the math book sad? It had too many problems. What do you call a sleeping bull? A bulldozer. Why did the bicycle fall over? It was too tired. Why can't your nose be 12 inches long? Because then it would be a foot. How does a penguin build its house? Igloos it together. Why can't you trust stairs? They're always up to something. What do you call cheese that isn't yours? Nacho cheese. Why did the golfer bring 2 pairs of pants? In case he got a hole in one. Why did the computer go to the doctor? It caught a virus. Why don't oysters donate to charity? Because they're shellfish. How do you organize a space party? You plan it. Why did the chicken join a band? Because it had drumsticks. Why don't koalas count as bears? They don't have the right qualifications. What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. Why did the tomato blush? Because it saw the salad dressing. Why can't you trust atoms? They make up everything. What do you call a factory that makes okay products? A satisfactory. Why was the broom late? It overswept. What do you call a pig that does karate? A pork chop. Why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7 ate 9. Why did the photo go to jail? It was framed. What did the ocean say to the beach? Nothing. It just waved. Why can't you play hide and seek with mountains? They always peak. Why did the orange stop rolling? It ran out of juice. Why did the banana go to the doctor? It wasn't peeling well. What's brown and sticky? A stick. Why do cows wear bells? Because their horns don't work. Why was the belt arrested? It held up a pair of pants. What kind of shoes do ninjas wear? Sneakers. Why was the computer cold? It left its windows open. Why did the music teacher go to jail? She got caught with sharp notes. Why can't leopards play hide and seek? Because they're always spotted. What's a vampire's favorite fruit? A blood orange. Why don't seagulls fly over the bay? Because then they'd be bagels. Why did the stadium get hot? All the fans left. What do you call a dog magician? A labracadabrador. Why can't your hand be 12 inches long? Then it'd just be a ruler. What do you call a fish with no eyes? Esh. Why did the cookie go to the hospital? Because it felt crummy. Why did the cow cross the road? To get to the other side. What kind of key opens a banana? A monkey. Why don't crabs give to charity? Because they're a little shellfish. What's orange and sounds like a parrot? A carrot. What do you call an alligator in a vest? An investigator. Why do bees have sticky hair? Because they use honeycombs. Why was the math teacher suspicious of prime numbers? They were acting odd. Why did the bicycle stand up by itself? It was too tired. What's a cat's favorite color? Purple. Why do ducks have feathers? To cover their butt quacks. What do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef. Why was the computer at the beach? It was surfing the net. What kind of tree fits in your hand? A palm tree. Why did the grape stop in the middle of the road? It ran out of juice. Why was Cinderella so bad at soccer? She kept running away from the ball. Why don't elephants use computers? They're afraid of the mouse. What do you call a sleeping dinosaur? A dino snore. Why do bananas wear sunscreen? Because they peel. Why was the cat sitting on the computer? It wanted to keep an eye on the mouse. Why can't you write with a broken pencil? It's pointless. Why did the frog take the bus? His car got towed. What did one wall say to the other wall? I'll meet you at the corner. Why did the belt go to jail? For holding up a pair of pants. What kind of room doesn't have doors? A mushroom. What do you call a snowman in the summer? A puddle. Why was the broom tired? It was swept off its feet. Why was the skeleton lonely at the dance? He had no body to go with. What do you call a fish who practices medicine? A sturgeon. Why did the chicken sit on the egg? To experience parenthood. Why did the Scarecrow become a stand-up comedian? He had great corny jokes. What's a pirate's favorite letter? You think it's R, but it'd be the C. Why do hummingbirds hum? Why don't graveyards ever get overcrowded? Because people are dying to get in. Why did the banana go out with the prune? Because it couldn't find a date. What kind of music do mummies listen to? Rap music. Why did the coffee file a police report? It got mugged. Why don't some couples go to the gym? Because some relationships don't work out. What did one plate whisper to the other? Lunch is on me. Why don't vampires go to barbecues? They don't like steaks. Why did the cookie cry? Because its mom was a wafer so long. What did the left eye say to the right eye? Between us, something smells. Why did the barber win the race? He knew all the shortcuts. What's a skeleton's least favorite room? The living room. Why did the astronaut break up with his girlfriend? He needed space. What do you call a cow that just had a baby? Decaffeinated. Why was the calendar nervous? Its days were numbered. What do you call a dog that can tell time? A watchdog. Why was the music teacher always locked out? She left her keys on the piano. Why don't farmers ever tell secrets in the cornfield? Too many ears. What's a snowman's favorite drink? Iced tea. Why did the fisherman put peanut butter in the sea? To catch jellyfish. What's a potato's least favorite day? Friday. Why was the belt so stressed? It was always under pressure. Why don't ghosts like rain? It dampens their spirits. What do you call a sleeping bull? A bulldozer. Why did the mushroom go to the party alone? Because he was a fungi. What's a cat's favorite movie? The Sound of Music. Why did the frog sit on the lily pad? Because it didn't have a chair. Why was the pancake always the star of the show? Because it stacked up well. What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet? Supplies. What kind of fish loves playing basketball? A Dunkleosteus. Why was the broom happy? It swept the competition. What do you call a bear stuck in the rain? A drizzly bear. Why did the grape never finish its homework? It just whined too much. What's a cat's favorite dessert? Mice cream. Why was the computer so good at singing? It had perfect pitch. Why do fish live in salt water? Because pepper makes them sneeze. Why did the bed go to school? To become smarter. Why do seagulls live by the sea? Because if they lived by the bay, they'd be bagels. What did the clock do when it was hungry? It went back 4 seconds. Why did the soccer player bring string? To tie the score. What did the traffic light say to the car? Don't look, I'm changing. Why was the picture always invited to parties? It knew how to frame the fun. Why don't ants get sick? They have tiny ant bodies. What's a skeleton's favorite instrument? The trombone. Why did the bubblegum cross the road? Because it was stuck to a chicken's foot. What do you call a cow that plays an instrument? A musician. Why was the baseball team always in trouble? They kept getting caught stealing bases. What's a horse's favorite sport? Stable tennis. Why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the ketchup. Why don't calculators ever argue? They're always right. What kind of shoes do spies wear? Sneakers. Why did the pencil cross the road? To draw attention. What's a duck's favorite snack? Quackers. Why don't clocks get along? They don't have the time for each other. Why did the banana go to art school? It wanted to learn how to split. What do you call an owl magician? Houdini. Why did the plant go to therapy? It had root issues. What did the paper say to the pencil? Write on. Why did the dog sit in the shade? Because it didn't want to be a hot dog. What do you call a fish that wears a crown? A kingfish. Why did the skeleton always win arguments? He had a bone to pick. What do you call a pig who knows karate? Pork chop. Why did the scarecrow start a podcast? He had a lot of field experience. What's a sheep's favorite game? Badminton. Why don't melons ever get married? They cantaloupe. Why was the math test so cold? It had too many degrees. What's a cat's favorite song? Three Blind Mice. Why was the ghost such a bad liar? Because you could see right through it. What kind of bee can't make up its mind? A maybe. What did the hat say to the scarf? You hang around while I go on ahead. Why did the fish blush? Because it saw the ocean's bottom. Why did the computer keep sneezing? It caught a bug. What's a pirate's favorite snack? Ships and dip. Why did the pillow go to school? To improve its rest mathematics. What's a cow's favorite holiday? New Year's Eve. Why did the cookie go to the party? Because it felt chipper. What's a cat's favorite breakfast? Mice Krispies. Why did the drum take a nap? It was beat. Why don't oysters go on dates? Because they're shellfish. What do you call a dog that can dance? A pup and lock. Why was the math book a terrible friend? It was full of problems. What's a witch's favorite subject in school? Spelling. Why was the rope always stressed? It was getting tied up in knots. What do you call a dinosaur with bad eyesight? Do you think he saw us? Why was the pencil sad? It felt pointless. What kind of bird works at construction sites? A crane. Why did the shoe go to the doctor? It had a soul ache. What did the farmer say after he lost his tractor? Where's my tractor? Why did the music note go to jail? For being sharp. What's a computer's favorite dance? The disco. Why did the cat go to medical school? To become a practitioner. What's a snowman's favorite food? Iceburgers. Why don't skeletons ever get sick? Nothing gets under their skin. What kind of key opens a haunted house? A spooky. Why did the orange sit down? Because it ran out of juice. Why don't mountains ever get cold? They wear snow caps. What's a baker's favorite type of joke? A pun cake. Why did the duck get detention? For quacking jokes in class. What's a cat's favorite instrument? The percussion. Why was the bed always tired? Because it was sheet-faced. Why don't planets ever get along? They need space. Why did the lettuce break up with the celery? Because it found someone more appealing. What do you call a nervous javelin thrower? Shakespeare. Why was the broom always in a hurry? Because it swept through life? Why don't skeletons ever go trick-or-treating? They don't have the guts. What do you call a horse that loves to stay up late? A nightmare. Why did the man put his money in the blender? He wanted to make liquid assets. What kind of bird is always out of breath? A puffin. Why did the shoelace refuse to fight? It didn't want to get tied up. What do you call a bear with no ears? Bee. Why don't you ever see hippos hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. What did one snowflake say to the other? You're one of a kind. Why do spiders make great web designers? They're always catching bugs. Why did the scarecrow keep getting promoted? Because he was outstanding in his field. What's a cat's favorite state? Massachusetts. Why was the computer tired when it got home? Because it had a hard drive. Why did the banana wear sunscreen? Because it didn't want to peel. What did the grape say after it got stepped on? Nothing. It just let out a little whine. Why did the light bulb fail school? Because it wasn't too bright. Why was the belt always angry? It was fed up with being around the waist. Why do cows make bad comedians? Their jokes are utterly terrible. What's a vampire's favorite dog? A bloodhound. Why don't fish play basketball? They're afraid of the net. Why was the robot so bad at soccer? It kept kicking up sparks. What do you call a pig who tells jokes? A ham. Why did the napkin blush? It saw the fork and spoon kissing. What's a skeleton's favorite plant? A bonsai tree. Why did the student eat his homework? The teacher said it was a piece of cake. Why did the fisherman bring a ladder? To catch high tide. Why did the blanket go to school? To cover class. What do you call a sleeping pig? A snore sage. Why was the math teacher suspicious? Too many shady figures. What do you call a snobbish criminal going down the stairs? A condescending condescending. Why did the duck cross the playground? To get to the other slide. What do you call a sheep covered in chocolate? A candy bar. Why was the stapler so calm? It always kept it together. What did the wall say to the ceiling? I've got you covered. Why did the pillow get arrested? For smothering. What do you call a fake noodle? An impasta? Why was the phone wearing glasses? It lost its contacts. What's a vampire's favorite ship? A blood vessel. Why was the tomato such a great friend? It was always saucy. What do you call a dinosaur who crashes his car? Tyrannosaurus Rex. Why did the scarecrow start a business? He wanted to rake in the straw. What did the cat say after making a joke? Just kitten. Why did the candle get so much attention? Because it was lit. Why did the salad go to the party? To get dressed up. Why did the skeleton stay home from the party? He had no body to go with. What do you call a pig on vacation? Bacon in the sun. Why did the teacher wear sunglasses? Because her students were so bright. Why did the fish live at the piano? Because it was always playing scales. Why do cows have hooves instead of feet? Because they lactose. Why did the cookie visit the doctor? It was feeling crumby. What's a vampire's favorite sport? Badminton. Why don't giraffes like fast food? They can't catch it. Why did the chicken sit on the computer? To keep an eye on the mouse. What do you call a rabbit with fleas? Bugs Bunny. Why did the hammer fail school? It just couldn't nail the test. Why did the backpack go to therapy? It was carrying too much emotional baggage. What do you call a can opener that doesn't work? A can't opener. Why did the duck buy lipstick? It wanted to quack its lips. What do you call a cow in an earthquake? A milkshake. Why don't ghosts ever get stuck in traffic? Because they take the scare lane. Why did the dog join the orchestra? Because it had perfect bark tone. What's a skeleton's favorite snack? Spare ribs. Why was the photo nervous? It was about to be developed. Why did the fork break up with the spoon? It found someone sharper. Why did the baker go to therapy? He needed help. What do you call a group of musical whales? An orchestra. Why was the cat afraid of the tree? It was full of bark. What do you call a horse that lives next door? A neighbor. Why did the strawberry cry? Because it was in a jam. Why don't clams share their pearls? Because they're shellfish. Why did the backpack always feel heavy? It was full of history. Why did the teddy bear say no to dessert? Because it was already stuffed. What did the snail say while riding the turtle? Wee! Why did the lamp file a complaint? It was being left in the dark. Why did the ladder get invited to the party? Because it was such a step up. What's a cow's favorite instrument? The music box. Why did the phone go to school? To improve its reception. What's a vampire's favorite type of dog? A bloodhound. Why did the chair go to the party alone? Because it had nobody to sit with. What's a computer's favorite snack? Microchips. Why was the scarecrow always so confident? He knew he was amazing. Why did the duck bring a suitcase? It was going on a quackcation. Why was the cat always so dramatic? It was a real meow diva.